Hey everybody, today I have a little idea about how to save bike shops margins on their bikes. Right now, most bike shops order from Trek, Specialized, or Giant, one of these big brands, and they used to be completely aligned with the small retailer. They had to get their bikes sold through the local bike shop. And what's happened now in the past few years post-COVID, those bike brands, Trek, Giant, Specialized, they're now in competition with the retailers they sell to because they're trying to sell directly to the consumer and make a little bit more of the profit margin themselves. So something that worked for decades is no longer really working because the profit motives of the small retailer and the profit motives of the manufacturer, they're not aligned. And I don't see how they'll ever come back into alignment. So my thing is, I don't sell bikes, I just fix bikes. But I've been thinking for like a year, what if bike shops collectively pulled together some money and started their own bike brand, started their own like Specialized, and they develop the bikes and they sell the bikes. And since the bike brand would be owned collectively by hundreds or thousands of small American shops, they would never have to compete on price with the bike brand themselves because they are the bike brand. And I don't think the bike brands are the bad guys. I don't think the retailers are the bad guys. But when you have shareholders and you work for a big bike company, you're accountable to them. You have to get your bike sold and you have to make as much money as possible selling those bikes. And the same thing goes for the retailer. So my little solution is the retailer needs to own the brand and they can sell it directly. And then last week I saw in the news, KHS, it's a large distributor and they also have a bike line. The owner of that company is looking for a buyer and he wants to get out of the market. So I thought, I mean, it's a lot of work, but why doesn't a few hundred bike shops pull together a little money, get a loan, and buy KHS? And then they would own the distributor. And then they would know how much money they need to pay for the parts. And it would cut out one of the middlemen. So the middlemen would be accountable to their income and their profit margins. And then KHS already has a bike line. They already have a manufacturer in place in Asia to build the bikes. And it would seem like a win-win for everyone. And they would never have to compete on price with online. You know, there's always going to be a certain percentage of people who will never, ever want to buy a bike online. They're always going to want to go into the shop and get the shop experience and buy a bike from a shop. And it could be a KHS, it could be a Specialized Giant. A lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of consumers don't really care the brand name. They just want a quality bike from their local bike shop. So it seems like they're leaving money on the table and they're also helping build up their competition, which now the brands that they've ordered in for decades, they built up the brand name and now that brand name is using that I don't know how to pronounce it, that brand energy, that brand awareness that all these local retailers built up for years, they're using that to sell online directly. It's kind of a bad, stinky situation for them. They should be owning their own brand, putting the brand energy into it, and then if it becomes worth $1 billion company, those small retailers will each have a little ownership of that and they can benefit from the work that they've been putting into marketing and selling those bicycles. So yeah, just a little idea of, yeah, bike shops should own the bikes they sell. They should own the whole process from importing overseas to selling it directly, and then they can benefit from the marketing that they do day in, day out, having those bikes in their storefront. You know, direct-to-consumer bikes, you can't go into a store and check out a YT and then buy it online. So there's a lot of value in what a local retailer does, and I think it would be better for them to monetize it themselves. But yeah, that's just my idea for today. Tomorrow morning, I'm getting ready. I'm going to do a trunk or treating thing that a local city puts on. And they told me I have to buy a minimum of 2,500 pieces of candy for this. So I'm thinking about getting dressed up. We'll see. I'll show a few clips of that. Here's the decorations my kids made. Are they scary enough? Are those monsters? Rawr! Yeah, is that Frankenstein? Ah! Well, I'm all set up here. I'll show you my candy stash. Saltwater taffy. Yeah. Look like a pirate. Is this pirate material? How about my belt? Spooky. Well, that was fun. I had mostly saltwater taffy I gave out, and I had a big bag of chocolate candy. And even though the chocolate candy was more expensive, I thought it was a lot funner. The kids were a lot happier when I was giving them Reese's and Butterfingers. So I think if I do it next year, I'll just break the bank and buy all chocolate candy. But yeah, so like and subscribe so I can get 2,000 followers. That would be great. Have a good day, everybody.